Germany remains in two minds over providing the Leopard tanks to Ukraine. This is one singular issue which was at the center of the intense discussions as NATO defense leaders are meeting at Ramstein Air Base in Germany. The Western allies struggle to resolve divisions over providing the advanced battle tanks to Ukraine as they discuss sending more military aid to the embattled country in its war with Russia. The Polish defense minister said he is convinced that Ukraine's Western allies would manage to form a coalition to provide Leopard tanks to the war-torn country. Now, Germany said no decision has been made yet on tanks sought by Kyiv at the crucial US-led meeting on boosting military aid to Ukraine. The US, however, is convinced that the differences could be resolved. However, the Kremlin is dismissive of the support the West is offering to Ukraine. Moscow said that supplying tanks to Ukraine would not help and would only result in increasing the conflict, and that the West would regret its delusion that Kyiv could win on the battlefield. However, in a scenario which sees Ukraine winning, Russia has threatened to go for nuclear weapons. So far, the US has been the most prolific supplier of weapons to Ukraine. Along with a long list of weapons, Washington has also committed to send a large range of other vehicles used to tow weapons, deliver ammunition supplies, and act in command and support roles. Coming to Germany, apart from the howitzer guns and the infantry fighting vehicles, the European nation has promised to send a range of transporter trucks, armoured recovery and medical vehicles, and other infantry support vehicles. Among other Western allies, Britain has promised its Challenger battle tanks. France has committed armoured combat vehicle Slovakia, and they are offering the infantry fighting vehicle, while Sweden is sending Archer artillery systems, with countries like Poland, Denmark and Canada, as well as Finland, also chipping in. The weapons have helped Ukraine to hold its ground to a certain extent. Kyiv has asked for more urgent help from the West. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged the Western leaders to send more weapons and more quickly to defeat Russia's invasion.
And artillery, armored vehicles and tanks, which we are negotiating about. Unity will only become stronger with every new Rammstein. The war started by must lose.
Has been in training Ukrainian forces.
Now, for more on this, we're being joined by our correspondent Susan Tehrani from New York. Hello to you, Susan. Now, the U.S. is leading in supplying weapons and aid to Ukraine, but back home, there are pressing issues like inflation. What is the sense that you are getting from the Biden administration?
The Biden administration has been pouring money into the war until now. It just basically approved its 30th aid package, which is one of the largest to Ukraine, amounting over $2 billion. But I think it was interesting. We recently heard the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, speaking at Ramstein Air Base, along with Mark Milley, who's the chairman of the Joint Chief. And as they were talking and expressing optimism that ultimately this support will continue until Ukraine is victorious, we did hear that they said that the way that this war will ultimately possibly be ended will be at the negotiating table between Russia and Ukraine. That is something that we haven't heard, at least not from the Pentagon and from military officials, and it was something noteworthy coming from the Ramstein Air Base. So while the United States and the Biden administration, the White House, has been pouring this aid, and it doesn't seem like there will be any shortage of support in that sense, but I think it understands that the American people are weary at this point because, as you mentioned, the economic situation that's facing and grappling the population, it's not only talks of a possible recession, but then you have the issue of inflation and unemployment on the rise. that many are wondering whether or not, how long is too long before some kind of a breakthrough has to be made between Russia and Ukraine. And I think what we saw today in Ramstein, people were hoping that some kind of breakthrough would come out of this meeting, and we've yet to sort of see that headline. And so the White House will have to ultimately answer to the American people that if it's providing this support, then is it providing it completely for Ukraine to win rapidly, or is it going to be prolonged and it's just going to be sending money little by little, and it's just going to be a bloody stalemate? And that's something that the American people are not going to be continuing to back.
Right, Susan, stay with us while we take a listen into U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's statement.
This isn't really about one single platform. And so our goal, and I think we've been fairly successful at doing this and bringing together capability, is to provide the capability that Ukraine needs to be successful in the near term. And so you've heard us talk about 2 battalions of Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, very capable platform. 3 battalions or a brigade's worth of strikers. So you add that up, that's 2 brigades of combat power that the U.S. is providing, along with enablers and other things. So you look at Sweden providing a battalion of CV-90s, that's an armored personnel carrier. The Germans are providing mortars. The Poles are providing a battalion's worth of mechanized capability. You heard the chairman highlight 4 battalions of artillery, mechanized artillery that's being provided. So this is a very, very capable package.
Now, for more on this, we are being joined by Major John Spencer. He is the chairman of the Urban Warfare Studies and a military analyst. Take us through the outcome of the meeting at Ramstein Air Base on the German tanks.
Yeah, unfortunately, there was no real announcements as of yet. And even in questioning of Secretary Austin, they said that that's Germany's decision. I think it's a ridiculous decision by Germany. It hasn't made it yet. It's a symbolic decision. Germany's already provided a lot of lethal aid, but for some reason, and it's not even Germany providing the Leopard 2 tanks. It's Germany allowing other countries like Poland and many other countries that have that main battle tank to give it to Ukraine. So they're stopping allowing people to give that vital main battle tank that Ukraine needs to go on the offensive and to finish this war sooner than later.
Right, and Major, can you explain to our viewers what are the Leopard 2 tanks and why Ukraine wants them?
Sure, the Leopard 2 tank is in a class 1 of main battle tanks around the world, along with the U.S. M1 Abrams tank and the UK Challenger 2 tank. Right now, Ukraine and Russia, to be frank, are using older versions of T-72s, even Tu-64s for Ukraine. The Leopard is a modern tank that is faster, has better armor, has a better cannon, and is a vital component of being able to do combined arms. So Ukraine needs and wants main battle tanks so that it can put together formations that can move forward and retake territory that Russia is currently sitting on in Ukraine.
Right, and also, how valid is the threat of Russia, which says that it would be a whole new level of war if NATO arms Ukraine?
I don't think it's valid at all. It's more rhetoric from Russia, who has violated the UN Charter, violates the Geneva Convention daily. They're the people sitting in a sovereign nation. NATO can provide any weapon it wants up to without engaging directly in the engagement. I mean, Putin is the wrong person to be saying what's right and wrong in this just war. And, to rattle the nuclear saber also is reckless. I mean, I think their statements should validate what NATO and other countries, because it's not just NATO countries, are providing Ukraine, because if not, Putin would rewrite the world. He's imposing a tax on everybody, India and everybody around the world, in its imperialist, trying to change the global international order.
Right, Major, thank you very much for being with us and your very valued insights there. WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.